Okay, so get this. We're talking iPhones, zombies, and a massive Hollywood budget.
Sounds like a party.
Right. But seriously, 28 years later, the sequel to that crazy Danny Boyle film was shot entirely on iPhones.
iPhones, like the things we use every day.
Yep, iPhone 15 Pro Max smartphones, to be exact.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of wild, right? I'd never think you could use a phone to shoot a whole movie.
Right, and a $75 million movie at that. It's kind of unbelievable, but
Wow.
it's true. We actually found this Wired article that breaks it all down.
So it is possible.
Ah,
You learn something new every day.
you're telling me. So anyway, today we're diving deep into this whole iPhone filmmaking thing.
Sounds cool.
Is it just a gimmick, or is this the future of filmmaking? We'll figure it out. But first, I gotta ask,
Sure.
what was your first reaction when you heard about this iPhone thing?
Well, honestly, my first thought was how?
Mm.
Like, how is that even possible? iPhones are amazing, sure, but professional film equipment.
Right. My thoughts, exactly. But thinking about it more, it's not that out there when you think about the director.
Danny Boyle, yeah. He and his cinematographer, Anthony Dodmantle, have always been into pushing the boundaries.
Exactly. Like, look at 28 Days Later back in 2002. Remember that gritty, almost documentary feel of that film?
Oh, yeah, the shaky camera, the close-ups, really intense.
All done with a Canon XL1, which was considered like cutting edge for its time.
And now it's a classic. So using iPhones now, it's like they're keeping with that tradition of innovation.
Totally. It's not just about being different, it's about embracing what the technology lets you do.
Exactly. I mean, remember those shots of London? Completely deserted, so eerie and effective.
So good. And those were shot on digital tape, which, as you can imagine, doesn't exactly remaster easily into high def.
And now they have this iPhone footage, all 4K ProRes RAW, which is, well,
You're going to have to break those terms down for me. And everyone listening who isn't a filmmaker, what does that even mean?
okay, so imagine you're taking a picture on your phone. You can shoot in regular mode or in RAW format. RAW basically captures all the information, all the light and shadow, without compressing it. ProRes is kind of the video equivalent of that, giving you way more to work with when you're editing.
Ah, okay. I get it.
More control, more flexibility. It's like the difference between using a basic set of crayons and having a whole box of professional-grade colored pencils.
So they basically turn their iPhones into like high-powered filmmaking tools, but how?
Well, the article talks about them using something called B-script cages and lens adapters. Imagine those things you clip onto your phone for a wider lens, but on a whole other level. These let them attach actual professional cinema lenses to the iPhones.
Wow, talk about a phone upgrade.
Right. And that's where it starts to get really interesting, I think.
Yeah, it's not even just about the tech itself. It's about what this means for filmmaking in general, don't you think?
Totally. And that's exactly what we're going to dig into next.
So we were talking about how 28 years later was shot on iPhones and what that means like for the future of filmmaking.
Right. Imagine you want to make a movie. It used to be you needed so much expensive gear, a whole crew.
Oh, totally. Lights, cameras, the big boom mics.
Yeah, all of that.
Okay.
But now you're saying with these iPhones,
It's like suddenly anyone can be a filmmaker.
it makes you think, what does that mean for those film students just starting out? Or, heck, even seasoned directors, right?
It's got to be a bit of both, exciting, 80, intimidating.
Right. It could be huge. Like, remember how 28 Days Later really used the emptiness of London to create that feeling of isolation?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Those scenes were so well done.
Think about how much easier, how much more accessible that kind of shooting becomes when your camera is literally small enough to fit anywhere.
Wow. Yeah, you could get some crazy shots with that kind of setup.
Right. It's not just about budget anymore. It's about a whole new way of looking at things.
Makes you wonder if this is like the start of a trend, you know?
Could be.
More and more directors experimenting with mobile filmmaking, pushing the limits of what's possible.
Absolutely. And think about the possibilities for documentaries.
Oh, yeah.
Get those up close and personal shots.
Exactly. Or even just how we think about capturing our own lives. Is everything going to become a movie now?
Who knows? Okay, but let's get back to 28 Years Later itself.
Yeah.
The sequel, it's coming out June 2025, right?
That's right.
What can you tell us about it? The story, the cast, give us the good stuff.
Well, for starters, they've got a killer cast. Jodie Comer,
Oh, she's amazing.
Aaron Taylor Johnson,
I love him.
and Ralph Fiennes.
Okay, now that's a powerhouse lineup. No wonder they had the budget for, even if they were using iPhones.
Right. And that's not even all of it. There's rumors Cillian Murphy might make a comeback.
No way. Seriously. That would be amazing. He was so good in the original.
Right. That intensity he brought to the role was perfect for 28 Days Later. So having him back would be huge. So what about the actual story, though? What can we expect?
It's still pretty hush-hush, but
Yeah.
we do know that 28 years later is just the first film in a trilogy.
Whoa, a trilogy. They're going all out on this.
Yeah, and get this. The second film, already in production.
No way. What's it called?
28 years later, part 2, The Bone Temple.
Okay, that's an intense title. Who's
You know-
directing?
Nia DaCosta,
Wait, the Nia DaCosta
Yeah.
who did The Marvels?
the one and only.
Wow. They're not messing around. I mean, it's awesome they're going for it, but with all this talk about iPhones and trilogies and casting, does that mean they're forgetting about the story?
That's a good point, right? It's easy to get caught up in all the bells and whistles.
Right. Like, is it going to be style over substance?
Well, here's the thing. Alex Garland, the writer for the original 28 Days Later, he's back.
Okay, so the writing's in good hands then. Garland's amazing. He always has these thought-provoking stories.
Right, so we know they're taking the story seriously. It's not just about the tech.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it's going to be more than just a gimmick.
Awesome. So we've got the groundbreaking iPhone thing, incredible cast, amazing writer. This, 28 years later, is shaping up to be a huge deal.
For sure. It has all the makings of a blockbuster hit.
Right. But more than that, even it really might be like a turning point in film.
Definitely. Remember when digital cameras first came out? People were unsure.
Oh, I remember. Some people even refused to switch.
Exactly. Now look, everyone uses them. What if this is that moment for smartphones and movies?
It's true. What if 28 years later changes everything?
What if it does?
Okay, hold on. I think I'm hearing an echo in here.
Now that you mention it.
Okay, I think we both agree that echo is a little too well-timed for comfort.
Yeah, let's just hope it was a technical glitch and not, some foreshadowing for the movie.
Right. Zombies I can handle, but creepy audio hauntings, that's a whole different story.
I hear that. But hey, speaking of the movie, you got me thinking about something.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
If this whole iPhone thing takes off after 28 years later, are we going to see film schools replacing all those expensive cameras with iPhones now?
That's a good question. I mean, it definitely makes things more affordable for students.
Right. No more lugging around those heavy cameras either.
I wouldn't go that far. I think there's always going to be a place for traditional cameras, especially for those big-budget action movies.
Oh, absolutely. For those massive, epic shots and complex setups, you can't beat a proper film camera.
Yeah, but for everything else, who knows? Maybe we will see an iPhone rigged to a car in the next Fast and Furious, just for kicks.
Okay, now that's just scary. I can imagine Vin Diesel hanging out a car window with an iPhone now.
I know, right? But seriously, think about the possibilities for indie films, documentaries, even just experimenting with different visual styles.
Absolutely. It's like this whole new world of filmmaking is opening up.
Yep.
More accessible, more immediate.
Right. And kind of reminds me of when digital cameras first came out. Everyone was skeptical at first, but look at us now.
Totally. Nobody could have predicted how much they would change the game. And look, this iPhone thing might be a total flop, who knows? But it also might be the start of something huge.
Exactly. We're talking about a potential paradigm shift here, like the invention of the digital camera, but for this generation.
And it all circles back to 28 years later, possibly being that catalyst. It's a bold move, and it'll be fascinating to see what kind of impact it has on the industry.
So, bottom line for our listeners, what's the biggest takeaway from all of this?
I'd say it's this. Keep an open mind. Technology is constantly evolving, and sometimes the most unexpected tools can lead to the most amazing results. Don't underestimate the power of a smartphone, right?
Right. They're not just for scrolling anymore. Who knows? Maybe the next great filmmaker's out there right now shooting a masterpiece on their phone.
Exactly. And if they ever need advice on how to rig up a telephoto lens to their iPhone,
You'll be the first to know. Well, folks, there you have it. iPhones, zombies, and the future of filmmaking. It's been real and a little creepy exploring this with you.
as always. And hey, maybe by the time 28 years later hits theaters, we'll be recording this whole podcast on our phones.
You're on. Just let me invest in some noise-canceling headphones first. Until next time, stay curious, everyone.